Hello everyone. As some of you already know, I was in the emergency room last week for a severe allergic reaction. I decided I need a little bit of a break to recoup and figured this would be a good opportunity to talk about what happened, why it was so scary, and how the medical system has failed me. I'm on a journey to discover what goes into the food we eat, why it matters, and how we can use this knowledge to make our own cooking taste better. After being diagnosed with 17 food allergies, I'm determined to relearn how to cook, rethink how to eat, and reimagine what mealtime looks like. The other night I was making a beef stew, completely normally like I had done multiple times before, and I ate it, and at first there was nothing wrong, but that changed quickly. I noticed a problem when I stood up to go into the kitchen again, and I had a sudden feeling of weakness come over me, like I was being pulled to the ground and I could barely move. Now, fair warning, some of you might find the descriptions of this reaction disturbing. I was barely able to get myself up and crawl across the room and into bed, and I just lay there in bed, and the first thing that you feel is your heart fluttering, almost like it's beating or trying to beat, but not quite getting there, not quite doing it right, or it's going in like a regular pattern, almost like a fluttering sensation. The other thing is I describe it as like a wave of almost water that washes over you. It feels like it's just washing over the inside of your body, and you don't really know what's going on, but you're in kind of a heightened state of panic. Your body's aware that something is wrong, and no matter what you do, nothing seems to fix it. I will sometimes liken this to holding your breath. When you hold your breath, at first things are okay, but it builds up. You get this sensation, this urge that you need to breathe, and it gets stronger and stronger. Your body gets more panicky. Your heart starts beating faster until your body forces you to open up and breathe. It's very similar, except instead of your heart rate increasing and getting more panicky, it's more like your heart's slowing down, like time is slowing down. The panic is still there, but you're not able to do anything about it, and there's no automatic reaction like opening up and breathing. It just happens, and there's nothing you can do to make it stop. I tried to call my roommate for help, but they had apparently already gone to sleep. Fortunately, I eventually got up enough strength to get up and kind of shuffle my way across the house to knock on their door, and was able to get them to take me to the emergency room. And this is actually the second time that's happened within the past week, and both times were to something that I had no idea would be a problem. That's one of the things with allergies, is that they can get worse or appear with any exposure to an allergen. Something that I've had 100 times before that was totally okay might kill me in the future. Another reason why this is so scary is because there's no real way to know how bad it is in the moment. And even if I did, I was too weak to do anything about it. When you go to the hospital for a severe allergic reaction, they will inject you with a mixture of drugs that are designed to pull you back out of that reaction so you can continue to live. I've gone through this several times in the past couple months, and I can only describe the experience as pure torture. When they inject you with this medicine, you can feel your body violently fighting itself. On one hand, it's trying to react, and on the other hand, this new drug is trying to prevent it from reacting, and you're just kind of caught in the middle, being torn both ways. One of my worst reactions, I was laying in a hospital bed, kind of writhing back and forth in sheer agony for almost an hour while I waited for this to pass. Fortunately, I didn't need that this time. The reaction wasn't quite so severe. But where does that leave me? The very first thing when you're free to go and you leave the hospital is you walk past the checkout window, and the very first thing they say is, here's your $200 bill. Oh, by the way, it's only $150 if you pay in full right now, and send you on your merry way. That's one heck of a way to start recovery from a near-death experience. So I spent $150 to basically sit in a hospital bed while some doctors watched me and gave me a bunch of medicines, only one of which was even prescription. The rest were just over the counter. In this case, I would have survived just fine without going into the hospital at all. Did I waste my money? There's no way to know. And next time, maybe it'll be the same. Maybe I will die if I don't go in. I can't tell. This is an EpiPen. It's an auto-injector, which is just a fancy way of saying a really big needle full of liquid that will inject itself when I hit myself with it. 15 minutes. This buys me 15 minutes to get to the hospital and for them to give me something else so that I can live. Now these usually come in sets of 2, and it's not so that I can survive 2 different reactions without having to get a refill, no. What if 15 minutes isn't enough? What if there's traffic? So I went uninsured for about 2 months during all of this. Those $150, $200 hospital visits a pop, those are with insurance and without an ambulance ride and without using my EpiPens. The final bill amount would be thousands of dollars without insurance. This right here that I'm holding, $1,500. $1,500 for 30 minutes to try and live. Now, when I first started having major allergic reactions, no doctors were really sure what was going on. My symptoms were suspicious of allergic reactions, and even every time I went into the ER, one of the first questions they would ask me is, do you have any known food allergies? To which, of course, I would respond with, no, I don't have any known food allergies. And in many cases, they took that to mean, oh, well, you must not have food allergies, instead of, I didn't know that I had food allergies. Because of this and some other complicating conditions, I went through all kinds of various tests that were ultimately not really needed and didn't find anything. Over $10,000 were spent in preventable expenses that fortunately were billed to my insurance company. I actually lost my medical insurance unexpectedly shortly after all that happened. And because of the way that I lost it and the technicalities, I didn't qualify to get onto new insurance through work. I would have to wait the nearly 11 months for the next open enrollment period because I didn't qualify, which meant I was on my own to find my own medical insurance, which I did, but not until I could afford the $2,000 premium, which is just the cost to buy the insurance in the first place, to have it active. And even now, today, I'm still paying on that. All of these early missteps and this confusion shows that we really don't know that much about food allergies. We know that they happen, we know that it's the immune system attacking something that it shouldn't be. We're pretty good at rescuing people from them, but we don't know much else about them. Now, there are a handful of studies and a couple of theories that have been floated as to why these happen and how we might go about preventing their or reducing their likelihood in future generations. But for now, basically the best advice that you can get is, well, you're allergic to something, don't eat it. So great, this solution is really simple, it's actually very effective, and if you're only allergic to something that's maybe a less common ingredient, or you're allergic to 1 or 2 key ingredients, then no problem. It's something that you can easily do and takes care of everything. But when you have severe allergies to so many key ingredients that are found in so many of the packaged, processed, and prepared foods that we have available to us today, this isn't nearly as feasible. When you're not only allergic to an extremely common ingredient, but you're allergic to the next 5 or 6 common substitutions for that ingredient, this isn't at all feasible. My diet is so restrictive that I'm running out of things to cut out. I only have a handful of prepackaged foods left. I have found 1 brand of crackers that I can have at my entire supermarket. That's it, and it's not even available at my closest supermarket. I have to go to a different store just to get it. 1 brand, 1 specific flavor, that's it. For something like popcorn, I can have 1 specific flavor from 1 specific brand. For chips, something I used to eat on a fairly regular basis, I can have a couple of different flavors, 1 flavor from my favorite brand, and I've recently found another brand at another grocery store that has 2 flavors that I can have. So what happens if I go to the grocery store and that specific flavor happens to be out? Oh well, I just go without that being a part of my diet. It's now been almost a month since I've had the 1 flavor from my favorite brand of chips that I can actually have because it's just been out. I'm guessing since the ingredients in it are a little bit different than most of the other products that they carry, that there's some kind of supply chain issue going on in light of the pandemic. But either way, right now I'm just stuck without. Now, chips and some of these snack foods might sound like a really small deal, and for most people it is, but for me, it's a little bit different. Imagine going to a grocery store, your local large box supermarket. The only things that I can have are in the produce section, the meat aisle, and a handful of specific products spread across the dry goods area. I can't even walk down the bread aisle or the bakery aisle or the dairy section because doing so is enough to make me physically sick. So outside of that produce section and that meat section, everything in that entire grocery store that I can safely eat can fit on a couple of shelves in one aisle. There's not a lot of wiggle room there. So here I am, almost a year later, and thousands of dollars out of my pocket drained from medical expenses. Did I get some kind of surgery that would fix the issue and I would be okay afterwards? Did I get some kind of medicine or treatment that would reduce the risk of this going forward? Nope. I'm right back to where I started. The chances of something that I eat that should be okay in the future killing me are just as good as they were before this all started. I went in and paid for a completely reactionary response, one that would allow me to live to fight another day from the same exact position that I was in before any of this happened. There's always that chance that whatever I may eat next, no matter how safe I think it is, and especially if I didn't completely make it myself, that I will end up in the emergency room fighting for my life again. Hundreds of dollars spent, more pain and suffering, and where will I be at? I'll be right back where I started. But I guess it's better than dying, I suppose. So, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm still waiting to get in to see a doctor. I cannot live my life in fear. But how familiar I've become with the sensation of nearly dying, it's shaken me. I can't really keep going forward with the only comfort I have being, well, if I'm in the right state of mind and I'm able to do something about it and I can afford it, I'll probably survive. Of course, I'll figure something out for myself, but that can't be the only thing. We have to take a really hard look at how our healthcare and medical system, how it's hurting people like me. In the meantime, thank you for all the loving support I've received from so many of you. It means a lot, and it's definitely helped me get through a lot of these challenging issues. And I'll see you next week.